Hello everyone, and welcome back to another My Singing Monsters Composer challenge video. So today I wanted to do a challenge that's kind of new, kind of not new. So in the past I've done challenges like making a song with only the ethereals or only rares. So today I wanted to do something similar to that being making a song with only vocalists. So I thought this was gonna be a fun idea. And it was. I don't know why I worded it like that, but anyways, I'm just gonna go with it. So, it took me a few days because I was kind of just slowly working through it, and I was kind of just nonchalant about it, I guess. Plus, it was a lot of brainstorming, because the vocalists do have a fair bit of monsters. I think it's like 27 or so. So, a fair number of monsters that I had to incorporate into a single song. So, it was fun, kind of thinking outside of the box. Alright, so sorry about the mic quality, but I forgot to mention some things about the tempo and the key signature. So, I wanted to do something kind of on theme, so I was thinking, and I was like, what if I took every letter from the word vocalists and then added them up to get the tempo? So, how I did this was that V is 22 because it's the 22nd letter in the alphabet, O is the 15th letter, C is the 3rd, so on and so forth, as you can see on screen. So I added all those letters together to get 120, which I thought was really ironic. And then I took that tempo, and because it was made up of 9 letters, I divided that by 9, which gave me 13.333 repeating, so I just ran it down to 13. So using the 12-tone scale with this new number we have of 13, we can go through it starting on A, and then just going up from there. And then since we go to 13, we would go up to G sharp, and then just go right back to A. So that would be our key of A major. Why major? Just because it would be more interesting than A minor, because A minor is no sharps if you did not know, so that's lame. So yeah, with that being said, I just wanted to clarify that, and now you know. So instead of talking about each monster individually, I've kind of grouped them together into what they do for the song. So for the first group I have the hors d'oeuvres, then the melodies and harmonies, then the basses, then the chords, and then finally the rhythms section. So I'll start with the hors d'oeuvres because why not? They're kind of all over the place, but nonetheless they did do a good bit for the song, so let's talk about them. So for my hors d'oeuvre monsters, aka the monsters who did just a tad little bit, we have Dainty-Doo, Cybop, Sponge, Pom-Pom, Entbrat, Punkleton, Blabbit, Hula, and Nebulob. For these monsters, I mostly just had them do small little thingies. Dainty-Doo, they help to kind of just do the introductory, harmony with Mammoth and everyone else. And then later on, they did something else which will be brought up in a different section, so I'll save that for that specific section, but that's the only reason they're in the hors d'oeuvres section, is because they kind of added to that little introductory thing. Cybop, they kind of did a common thing that I had a lot of monsters do in this section, which was I had them do like a little outburst in between like notes and like sections and whatnot, whatever you want to call them. And then Sponge was more melodic in terms of everything here. They kind of added some rhythmic elements to everything so that it kind of flowed better, while also adding some nice melodies and harmonies with everything in the section that it played in. Pom-Pom, they are the same as Dainty-Doo, where they just did the introductory chord spelling thing, whatever you want to call it, and then transitioned into the first main portion of the song. And then same exact thing for Entbrat, so yeah, no need to elaborate on that. Punkleton did the same thing as Cybop, where they had a little outburst here and there each measure, so they kind of just like, hooga, hooga, I don't really know, but just a little thing here and there. And then Blabbit, they kind of did I had them hold notes, kind of like duet with Octopus almost, except I guess that's the best way to put it. They kind of just held notes in the same section as Octopus, so nothing revolutionary, nothing crazy, but just kind of like matching the chord progression and the notes in the chords, so just going with the flow. Then Hula and Nebulob are the last two. They both also did the same thing as Cybop and Punkleton, to where they just have outbursts, so it's pretty self-explanatory, nothing crazy. So that's it for the hors d'oeuvres. I'll let you all listen to that section now.
Booga.
Booga.
Yay.
Booga. Booga.
Jabba. 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 Jabba.
Alright, so our next section is the melodies and harmonies. This is like the meat and potatoes of the song. So certain monsters are kind of the harmonies, they're harmonizing with the main melody, and then other monsters are just the melody. So yeah, Tweedle, starting off with them, they harmonized with Toejammer, and kind of just like, it's nothing really much out of that. I'm not going to go all theoretical with you guys and be like,
well, you see, they have this ascending pattern in the stepwise motion, creating very nice consonances with thirds and fourths, and sometimes even fifths.
No, I'm not going to do all that, even though I just did, but oh well. But yeah, it's just, they harmonize with Toejammer in their respective section. Like I'd call it like the mid section. I don't know, I guess. Then Potbelly, they were the main melody of the first actual section rather than the intro. They were a little bit hard to work with because they're a little bit quiet, and obviously they have very short notes. They don't have long notes, so it's kind of... I feel like that was a bigger challenge for this song, was like working with some of the monsters who don't have long notes, and if they do have long notes, half the time they're not the best. They might have a split staff. That was another struggle. Kind of going on a side tangent with the biggest issue I had with kind of coming up with stuff is that the split staff definitely made me think on how I wanted to use specific monsters like Octopus and Schmoochel and yeah, even Grumpire. So it was a whole debate on how I would do it, but I think it went well. But also just those short notes were kind of a bummer too a little bit. But yeah, anyways, going back to Potbelly, they kind of carried the middle section, and then yeah, we'll get to who harmonizes them in a little bit. But like I mentioned, Toejammer was the main melody of the second section. Kind of just just having fun, having him be a bit moody. I might have snuck in a motif or two. I mean, keep an ear out for that, but anyways, yeah, that was all to Toejammer. Then Flog was the harmony to Potbelly, another short note monster, so I thought it would only make sense. So yeah, that's why I did that. There's nothing much else to it other than Flog being a harmony for Potbelly in section 1. And then Schmoochel, was kind of doing their own thing in the final section. They were kind of hard to... They weren't super defined, they kind of just blend in with everything else, so they don't feel like a super big, important melody, honestly. But I think they sound very good in the song, if I do say so myself. It's just they don't feel like a super huge melody or, you know, whatever. So, you know, it's no biggie, but I think they work, even if they're not exactly a melody. But finally we have Wisp, who is kind of a harmony. They're more of like they kind of fill in the blanks with Toejamer and Tweedle's parts. Create a little bit of harmonies with the two of them, but they mostly just like fill in the empty space and add some rhythmic spice to it. So yeah, with that being said, that's all to the melodies and harmonies, but here's how they sound. And then next up for the basses, we have a lot of the bass vocalists, that being Mammoth, Octopus, Yule, Jellybilly, and Kazillion. So Mammoth was the main bassist, I'd say. They carried the intro, they carried the first section and second section before they passed it off to Octopus. So just a solid bass line until we get to Octopus, who just does the steady pitch, I guess you could say, with just carrying the bass line. So nothing crazy about him. He carries the rest of the song after Mammoth. Then we got Yule, who also has the jingle bells. This is the only actual instrument we have in the entire song. It's categorized as a vocal, so I'm gonna allow it. I wasn't super ecstatic to use jingle bells, but I was like, why the heck not? So I did. So you'll hear some jingle bells in there. So yeah, but anyways, I also did use their voice to where they kind of just like they kind of followed the bass line of Mammoth and Octopus in certain sections, helping to be a leading tone for some of the basses, like going, or rather a neighboring tone, kind of like transitioning between one bass pitch to the next. So nothing crazy, but also adding some rhythmic variety to the bass line when it might have needed it. And then next up is Jellybilly, who just did things in the very end of the song. I wanted to just add some more things to fill in the very end of section 3 so that it didn't feel so like flat, you know. So I wanted that section to be very rhythmically active. So that's what I was trying to do mostly with Jellybilly, since they were actually the last ever monster I used in this island. So I was just trying to come up with some things that rhythmically were different, but also melodically fit into the chordal structure that I was working with, that the Dainty Do was laying down. So finally we have Kazillion, who their whole thing was just switching between do and wop, following the bass line, adding some rhythmic spice to everything, because they don't have held notes, so you can only do so much. So yeah, I mean, nothing much to them outside of that, so I'll let you all listen to the bass section.
Bum 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 bum
Our next section is the chord section, which includes Furcorn, Maw, Dandy-Doo, Chorister, and the Dipsters. All of these monsters contributed to the chordal structure of the song. For Furcorn specifically, they just held the chords out and stopping a little bit before the next chord, kind of like doing the chords on the downbeats of each, like, I don't know, few beats. I don't know how to describe it, but they kind of do their own thing, just establishing the vibe of the song in the very beginning. And they do that for most of the song until we get to Chorister, who they pass it off to, where Chorister just does chords. That's really all they do. There's not much to them. They do this for the third section, but that's really all there is to Chorister, so I'll just get them out of the way. But next is Dandy-Doo, who they follow Chorister's chord progression. They take their chord progression and just, instead of elongating it, they just kind of like they make it very rhythmic and like stagnated, I guess you could say. Adding a little bit of suspensions here and there depending on where you're looking. So that was about it for Dandy-Doo as well. And for Maw and the Dipsters, Maw arpeggiated the chords while Dipsters kind of did the same, while adding some rhythmic differences and also providing some harmonic differences as well. But with that being said, I'll let you all listen to the chord group and then we can move on to the final one. And for the rhythm section, our final section, we have shrub, rare shrub, and grumpire. Now you might have been like, oh yeah, duh, the shrub is but grumpire. So I wanted to classify grumpire as a rhythmic vocalist because of the way I use them, using their bugas and their laws. I kind of just made them do a rhythmic pattern, even though they are pitched, you could say, even though they do have like a pitch nature to them because they are doing C and then for a little bit E. My main intention was for them to add just like that umph to the first section to make things sound a bit more busy, to fill things up a bit. So with that being said, I just used them for a rhythm feel rather than a pitch feel. But for shrub and rare shrub, they basically just bounced off one another. I mostly used rare shrub as like I used their like double syllable thingy as a hi-hat, while the shrub kind of did everything else. So that was the biggest thing for them. So nothing crazy, but they laid down the rhythm for the entire song, along with a little bit of Yule Jingle Bells, but you know, other than that, they kind of laid down the rhythm and the beats of the song. But with that being said, let's listen to the rhythm section. And with that being said, that's all the different sections and all 27 monsters in my vocalist only song. So I hope you all enjoyed this final product. Let me know if you'd like me to do other things like this. I've done just about every kind of different thing. I could do technically a song with every common monster, but that kind of feels boring. I could also do the same with percussionists only and instrumentalists only. Please let me know because I'm not sure if I want to do any of these. So if you all are like, yes, please do percussionists only, I'll think about it. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to do percussionists only because, I mean, that's a lot of rhythm, even for me. So it'll be a challenge, but that's what these videos are about. So yeah, I mean, let me know if you want me to do any of those three, because there's only those three left. But enough yapping. Here is the final product.
Bum 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 bum. bum bum